Episode 1. Kick it off, Crumb.
Kick it off. What are we doing? I mean, episode 1. You know, I have a thing. By the way, welcome to Terror 29. And everything about us, we're going to explain today. But first off, let me introduce myself. My name is Aaron Krumholtz, and I am Zach's Ho. H-O-O.
H-O-O. And what does that stand for?
Your bitch.
Haunt Operating Officer.
Ooh, such a title.
Fancy words. Yes.
Such a title. And then to my right, the man of the hour. If without him, none of this would be here. Zach Tenabo.
Hello. What's up, you guys? Our new podcast, Distorted Dimensions. A chance for us to talk about the haunt, events that we got going on, movie reviews, interviews with people in the haunt industry. So I'm super stoked, and we have to start somewhere, episode 1, and it's kind of the origin story of Terror 29. Tell everyone what Terror 29 is.
Terror 29 is a lovely haunted house that runs in October. We have a beautiful gift shop that we open every Saturday for. But what makes us cool is that we have a little spook show. And we mix a little magic, a little freak show, a little bit of ghost hunting, all rolled into one with a wonderful urban legend that's tied into Brandon, South Dakota, where Terror 29 is located at. Bring it into our show.
Totally, and that was this past year that we launched all of that, having the retail store year-round, the spook show, plus we've always had the haunted attraction, but it didn't happen overnight, so let's backtrack to the very early days. 2019 was our very first year, and I've always told the story that for whatever reason, the Halloween 2018, the remake, just got me super jazzed about Halloween and horror. And for whatever reason, I was like, I want to do a haunted house. And the backstory of that, my parents did a home haunt back when I was in like middle school or so through the garage. You'd walk through the backyard. And I was like, that would be super cool to do that again. And I was just living in a townhouse. It wasn't practical, but my parents were like, yep, totally. If you want to do it at the house, you know, it's all your expense. You deal with it all. So I was like, okay, I'm all stoked about Halloween again. I wanted to do this home haunt, and then for whatever reason, I don't even know, but that turned into kind of doing this mini professional haunt where we actually secured a building, and we sold tickets to go through, and it was kind of, seems so long ago now, but we were at the Crooks Renner exit, and we were there for a few years. So 2019, October of 2019 was our first year. We spent all year getting ready, and then I don't know if you guys know, but like March of 2020, there was this crazy thing that happened across the entire world.
Dun, dun, dun.
And South Dakota happened to be one of the few states that didn't shut down, so we were actually still able to operate. It was very interesting times. We all wore masks. We barely survived through the pandemic, but we did. We held on. And then in 2021, this guy over here stumbles into, well, actually first, it was 2020 that you went through the haunt, right?
Yeah.
So before we actually got to really know each other and work together in 2020, the year that we almost didn't survive, and then we almost didn't survive again. We'll tell that story too. But
PTSD.
It's like, right? It's like entrepreneurship is just getting punched in the face nonstop.
Yeah.
So you went through in 2020.
Went through 2020. So my family has a family tradition of going to haunted houses for family vacation. And I was actually working at another haunt as a scare actor at the time. And I wanted to do more. It just didn't work out because it was 45 minutes away from me. So we couldn't mesh up to do more. So unfortunately, I wanted to find something, unfortunately for them, because I really did enjoy working there. Just unfortunately, just timing didn't work and all that stuff. But that night, I took a night off from that haunt, took my dad and my sister, and we did a Sioux Falls tour. We did go up to the other one that I was working at first, and then you were on the last of the list. We went to the one that's not as popular,
Sure.
but really enjoyed doing that because it was family time.
Mm-hmm. Which is super cool. I love that.
Yeah, I know.
Haunted house is vacation.
Yeah, it is. It's the greatest. Wish we could do more of it, but especially now.
Now we're a little occupied.
So then went through, and I go, you know what? I really like this place. I would like to give some critiques. Nothing bad, just because in my history, I've ran haunted houses. I've built them. I've worked on stuff. I'm always tinkering with stuff. Like my mask at that time.
Right.
Trevor, one of the other people that was here, I showed him my mask, and he just, oh my God, you gotta come here. I go, well, if you're actually interested, I'd love to come.
Well, I think then it was also him that was like, hey, you need to talk to this guy.
Yeah, and this is the end of the night. You are haunting dead tired,
right.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
And turned around and said, oh, nice to meet you. Oh, no, I remember this. Hold on.
Yeah, I do too. I hope you remember.
I said, I have some criticisms. And you were like, there better not be all bad.
No, I said
something to that.
I was like, good or bad?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, good. And I was like, oh, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, exactly.
But not that I don't take bad criticism.
But it was like legit criticisms, and
I listened, and it was really good things that.
Yeah, and then I understood why these things that I was criticizing, and unfortunately that was because of the event.
And budget and props and things.
Right.
For example, the boiler room is a really good example how that was just such a huge room, and you really helped me to realize how to make these rooms smaller or make it
feel.
The customers take longer to get through the rooms.
Right. And on almost a zero budget too.
Yeah, literally. We're always balling on a budget.
But took that, and I know you were questioning the boiler room. You were like, it's okay, but when I showed you and built it and presented that's really when you were like, oh, okay, yep, I understand.
Well, and certainly now we're kind of rambling, but the queue line, if that was also, your resume or your application, the queue line definitely sealed the deal too.
Right. I still love that queue line.
Yeah, I know.
That was one of the best
those.
queue lines.
So now, flash forward to 6-7 years later, we're in Brandon now, and so we'll occasionally still hear people that have saw us at the old location. So those of you, if they happen to be listening to this podcast, they'll remember we had this 30 by 30 circus tent out front of that building, and Crumb put together this whole queue line out of pallets, and it really made it a cool, immersive experience just standing in the line. We had all sorts of jack-o'-lantern, pumpkin stuff going
just
around.
Little props. Yeah. Some stuff I made, some stuff you had from your previous haunting.
Yeah.
But it built the suspense up, and the way we had those 3 doors.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. It was
actually.
perfect.
Yeah,
it was perfect. I wish we could do that here and have the 3 doors.
Ironically, we were just talking about that because some of that got damaged in a storm. The top for sure is completely gone.
Yeah.
But then a couple of those poles are bent, which I'm sure we could get bent back. But
yeah, that's
it's
another
project. Yeah, right. Another discussion for later. So yeah, about January that following year, from 2020 going through the haunt, and obviously, like you said, a million things happen in that running a haunted house and being so busy and dead tired at the end of the night. We get towards January, or maybe it was December, whenever, but I could not remember this guy's name for the life of me. And I'm like, fuck, how do I get a hold of this guy? He had really good ideas. I want to pick his brain some more. And they're ironically the other haunt, and I suppose we can mention him. It's not like we're
it was Fear Asylum Brookings,
and we love the Fear Asylum in Brookings. Shout out to them, to Buck, their set design, everything super cool. But Lori, who is another person here at Terra 29, she also came from Brookings for other reasons. Nothing bad against Fear Asylum by any means. But a lot of these people are in Sioux Falls and just don't want to drive all the way to Brookings every single night. So I get that too. But Lori, I knew, had the connections to Fear Asylum, so I sent her. I think I found that video that you were in at the Fear Asylum, and I screenshot it, and I texted that to Lori, and I was like, what's this guy's name? And she's like, Aaron Krumholz. And I was like, okay, I found you on Facebook. I probably messaged you via Facebook for the first couple times or whatever.
Yeah, it was through Facebook. You know, it's funny. As I was leaving and we were heading back, because at the time I was living in Springfield.
Then?
I wasn't even in no. What? I had to go back to, excuse me. I was living in Sioux Falls. My sister and my dad were in Springfield, so I had to drive them back to Springfield.
Back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm driving, and then I get to about Beersford. I'm like, I didn't give them my number.
Turn around.
So, anyways, continue.
Yeah, but it was just the universe that then figured out. Connected us then, even without giving the number and me forgetting your name. There was all connections, and then we got together, and it was just now I guess like the rest is history, really. Our chemistry, we jived really well. We're both like Disney nerds, Universal nerds. We both have like a theater background, you a little bit more than me, but we love horror. We love dinking around, building, designing, coming up with ideas, and it was just a really good, and it was really also kind of a cool opportunity for you because that was so new and fresh for me in Terror 29 that getting in so early to throw in those ideas and really to give that kind of guidance or help or whatever you want to call it. It was really the timing for us meeting at that time. It was really perfect.
It made sense,
yeah.
Realistically. And then, of course, we had one glorious year together at the Crook Ritter exit.
The bad of the
And here comes the PTSD for us.
Yeah, literally.
Unfortunately, the owner of the building passed away, and his wife took over. And she had a child that lived in Sweden and wanted to be next to her grandchildren.
Yep.
And so she wanted to sell the building. So now, here we are.
Yeah, so we weren't by any means a position to buy the building, although we did look at almost every single freaking angle. But we also knew that something was going to happen. We had been at that same location for 3 years, so we knew we had to change the haunt, whether we were staying or not. So as soon as October was over that season of 2021, right, we start tearing down to either make changes or to probably know in the back of our heads that we got to go somewhere else. And we don't buy the building. We're not in a position to do that. And we can't find a building.
Right.
Like, we look forever. We knew, this was many months in the making. We kind of had a head start, and we couldn't find.
Well, how many buildings did you look at in between?
Oh, that's fair. At least maybe a half dozen.
Half dozen, and then we're proactive in a lot of sense. So we're making sure we're up to fire code and what things need to be in place. And there are places that go, a haunted house, how do you make money?
Yeah, we definitely got turned down by just landlords because they didn't understand the concept. If you explain it as like a 4th of July stand can make the money, then they kind of get it or kind of clicked. But so that was a struggle too that I kind of even forgot about till just now. But yeah, I was also dealing with different counties, different regulations. One of them, we needed a sprinkler system, but the water infrastructure wouldn't allow it. Like, we couldn't patch into the city's water structure, so we'd have to have our own water tank to support that. And that didn't make sense either. So we freaking pack everything up into storage from the moment October season is over. So November, December, January, and it was balls to the walls. Even there at the last couple days, we were still getting stuff out of there
and freezing.
Yeah, because it's getting cold. We're in South Dakota, so this is winter.
That warehouse wasn't insulated
or heated. Yeah,
nothing.
It was brutal.
Because it's even colder inside that tin.
Yeah, it's almost like it's hotter in the summer and colder in the winter than what it feels like outside. And so we get everything to storage of multiple truckloads and U-Haul rentals, and we keep the flats mostly all intact, so that all got transported into storage.
And I will say, you overbuilt that haunt. Holy cow.
Well, we didn't necessarily build it to have to take it down or to
Right.
well, now knowing obviously too, that was my first year and not knowing anything or what to
Right.
do. It's almost kind of impressive that I just pulled this thing off without even knowing.
Yeah,
what the-
I'm actually impressed of what you guys did, what you accomplished in that, tearing it down. And I'm like going, oh, this is way too much.
Yeah,
and then,
and having-
oh, wait, this is not enough.
And then, yeah, right. And then to even think we could attempt the Vortex Tunnel our second year, that was probably a little adventurous because it didn't work almost the whole season. You weren't there that
No,
year
no,
yet,
no.
but then our third year it was only down like twice.
Yep.
So we actually figured it out and we had it working that third year. So that was pretty
A
cool.
coupler.
Yeah. So we get everything to storage and we can't find a building, and I'm freaking out, and there's emotions going left and right, and we almost think that, because there's also times, so for the viewer to understand, as long as it took to tear down, it takes just as long to build.
It takes
back
longer to
up.
build.
Yeah, well, and plus we have whatever building we were going to go to was going to have a different layout, so not everything's going to fit the right way. And I get, like, definitely respect to the haunts that are temporary, like the JCs and all of them across the country that do set up temporarily.
Right.
But when you have actual flats and walls, and it took, so we're like, okay, we also have to have several months to be able to pull this off, and now we're getting to April.
Remember, we're working full-time jobs at the same time.
Yeah, that's also true. So we have full-time jobs. So this is just we get off work at 5:30, and we only have the evening. Rarely did we have. Luckily, we would kind of crash at about 11 or midnight. We didn't have a lot of 1 or 2, 3 a.m.
No, we never did a one. I think the latest we got was like almost a midnight one. But we were so close to finishing, we just wanted to finish that
And keep
project.
going,
But
yeah.
it was, if that happened, that was like once or twice.
So it's also just sneaking in the time that we have, and so
And if it wasn't for one person, and I'm going to point to the camera and say, to my dad, Stan the man.
yeah, literally.
If it wasn't for him, we would not be in the position we're at right now.
Yeah, for Brandon.
Yeah, for the brand.
rebuild.
For if it wasn't for my dad, Stan the man. So when you see him, you come out here and you see a man that's 5'3". He's actually taller than he appears. He
But it seems to be getting shorter each year.
I'm glad he's in California right now.
Oh, he would laugh at that
He
too.
would. If it wasn't for him, a lot of the burnout that we did suffer coming from that
Oh, it would have been
build-
even worse.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
would've
we
been
were
wor-
burnt out.
Yeah, we were.
So precursor to that for a second, everything's in storage. We're almost to the point of like, yeah, we're not going to have a season this year. And this would now have been 2022 because we can't find a building. It's getting to be April, May. And we're like, yeah, this isn't going to work. Even if we find a building in July, we're not going to have time to get it ready. So we almost like it was. And then a week later, basically, it was so close, almost. I'd have to look at the time frame, but from the moment we went into storage completely to the time we had to take everything out of storage,
It was less than 2 weeks.
less than a month for sure.
It was less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was.
Because literally we closed it, locked it, about cried then
Yeah, basically.
because we didn't know what was going on. And that week you found the place, sent me pictures where we're at now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, wait, there's 2 buildings?
Yeah. So then that was also and a tree.
And a tree. But we also had space.
Yeah, and room to expand.
Yep.
And this building, there's 2 buildings. The one building, that's the main building with the gift shop, is heated. So that was also a thing that we could allow us to try to do events and air conditioning. So in the summer, that's so nice.
It is.
And as nice as cold as it gets in South Dakota, it also gets very hot and humid.
Yes, it does.
So that would allow us expansion, having the 2 buildings, all this area outside, and then the temperature control to have events or to do things year round. And we also just kind of got lucky because it was one of the few landlords that just somehow either saw the vision or saw the hustle in me to keep whatever it is.
he believed in you.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
believed in you because you had the conviction.
Right.
We've already pulled this off here.
Yeah, so we did have that track record. It was a lot easier to get a building the second time than it was the first time because we at least had years to show what it was. But shout out to Gary, the landlord here, for doing this lease that if it wasn't for him in this building, we certainly wouldn't have had. Who knows where we would actually even be at that point? Which is kind of crazy to think. Yeah, would we have found a building the second year? Or, you know, who knows? Doesn't matter because this building, Brandon, the town, has been so awesome to work with, and Gary, the landlord, has been super cool. And then, so yeah, it was 2022. And so as soon as we get into storage, then this is what, April, May, maybe, kind of sometime that time frame.
We got everything moved before we were done with April, so we started building.
Yeah, we had to be out by the end of March.
Yeah.
Yeah, so May 1st might have been the day, that move-in day or something.
Yes, that's what it was, yeah, because that's where the month came in.
Right.
Because we had to be done with March.
We had, yeah.
And then everything. We were waiting longer to get stuff out because we had to wait for May 1st.
Yeah, I do remember that. That does make sense. So we get everything into storage, and now we get this new building, and then that for certain is where Stan the Man comes in, who's Crumb's dad. I don't know if I'm sure you mentioned that.
Oh, that's who my dad.
Yeah, right.
I did jump that story a little bit, sorry.
No, that's okay, because he does deserve the credit, because he, being retired, just lived out here all day,
He's
every
not
day.
retired. He refuses to be retired. He's on a 7-day weekend.
Yeah, that's right. 7-day weekend.
Retired for old people. By the way, his 80th birthday was just a couple days ago.
Oh, wow. I need to call him and tell him happy belated birthday.
Yes, you do.
I definitely dropped the ball on that.
I think he's on his boat trip right now.
Okay. He would chew my ass that I didn't call him.
Yeah.
But him being here all day, every day, still full-time jobs. We get here in the evenings or on the weekends, but he's here all day to start building, or we would take trips to go get pallets because we needed numerous pallets, so he would hop in the truck with me or the U-Haul, and we'd go gather all these pallets while Crumb and the rest of the crew would stay back building. So both buildings to get out of storage into storage and then out of storage. Lori gets a huge shout out. Even my brother helped a whole lot.
Your mom?
Yeah, my mom. But it was a total group effort.
Jaden.
So many, yeah.
Jaden was there to help.
Did some grunt work. Zach number 2. There was a lot of people that we couldn't have done it without them. And even then, we still got completely burnt out because we didn't have a day off from the minute season's over in October of the previous year to going into storage and out of storage, and then we have a season to run in October. And all summer I just kept asking your dad, I remember being like, you think we're going to pull this off? You think we're going to do it? And he just kept saying, it'll be really close. It'll be really close. And he was right. We pulled it off, and it was really close. And
the one thing that we try to pride ourselves on, and we still do, is the day we open, we should be done with what needs to be done.
Right.
We always have room to tinker.
And there's always.
We're never done.
Yeah. We just take a month off.
Yes.
To pay for the rest of the year.
That's when we go to work.
Yeah, literally.
I know that first night, though, because we open on Thursday, I was still building the queue line.
That queue line, yep.
I didn't even dress that night.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Ironically, though, then there was only 2 people that actually attended our first night in Brandon, which is hilarious because Brandon was definitely the right move to go. So Crooks Renner, for people that have no idea South Dakota geography, Crooks Renner is 10 minutes, 15 minutes out of Sioux Falls, maybe not
even.
Quite, yeah.
Because for my 90, it was literally 3 miles.
Yeah, you were closer.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and you're not really in anywhere. You're not in Sioux Falls anymore. You're not in Crooks or Renner, but you kind of are, and those towns are really small. We're here in Brandon. This is like a mini 20,000 population here maybe,
and we're literally 10 minutes from Sioux Falls.
Right. Yeah.
10 minutes. I mean,
And Brandon's essentially creeping into Sioux Falls, and they're merging together a little bit. But we're actually in a community, and even though we only had 2 people that first opening night, attendance has been drastically better than the Crooks Renner, and I have to attest that to being in an actual community and starting to. Then last year, everything turning into a year-round kind of experience or destination for horror, having the store open year-round and getting to know the community more, the people that come in, the horror nerds that like to geek out over this stuff.
And we have our fans. We know who you are.
You're right. You guys are probably watching the 3 that we've got. They're going to be watching. So, yeah, that was really the origin. You know, they always say overnight success takes 10 years. And it feels like definitely the last year turning it into a full-on year-round thing. E-commerce is exploding like crazy, shipping out probably packages every couple days or every day or 5 this day. I had 3 that I dropped off today. So that's trend has been cool, and just building and the brand, you know, and turning this into.
Yep. And then that's only that the brand building has also made us rethink our vision for the haunt too. How we're creating stories.
Oh yeah, totally.
And the characters that we're creating.
Yep.
Whether the customer knows it or not, there's a story there that eventually will be told to them. But,
Right.
you know, it's that slow build.
Well, and kind of a teaser, those that have come will catch on a little bit. With the Spook Show, we tell the story of the Whitlocks, and in the Haunted House, that's in October, we've got the Ravenwood brothers and the Ravenwood estate, and they're basically kind of 2 at odds with each other a little bit, as we're also still kind of developing the universe. But it was really an important to have an actual story, because before, the old location, it was just kind of abandoned warehouse to the Circus Freak Show. And being a magician and loving circuses, like I just always love freak show stuff and stunts, so that just made sense of a theme to pick, because I don't think I would get sick of it. And then I get sick of it after like 2 years, and it's just so overused, and I don't like it. And
I'm the first one to admit, I hated the clowns.
right.
I have my own reasons for that, and that's because of some Shriner friends that I have. And I strongly believe in what they say. I have nothing against like killer clowns from outer space, but it's in small doses.
Right.
Everybody does clowns. I mean, if you look on TikTok, how many clowns are on there?
Yeah, clown #clown check.
Yeah,
and all those trends.
And again, nothing wrong with it.
Right.
You do you, boo.
Yeah.
But I just don't see that for us.
It was just time for us to mature and grow from that. So then it just kind of turned into this. It was a really pivotal moment was last year when we actually just eliminated Clowntown completely. All the black lights, all the red and white striped walls, and all the clowns, that allowed us a little bit to reevaluate, and it just kind of all fell into place. Having the first building be the house that you enter to get slaughtered. You get buried outside for when someday when we have a cemetery out there, that'll make sense. And then you kind of go into this sanatorium, asylum, whatever the hell you want to call it, kind of vibe, and that's where your soul lives on afterwards. It kind of just morphed into itself.
Right.
And it was just like, holy cow, this is just so good. And then obviously the Ravenwood brothers and the estate that came on in this past season. So we've built on to this whole concept, but it's really last season was our first time to have an actual kind of thought out story. And then having the Spook Show, and that runs year round. It's about 50 minutes. You go through the haunted house, like you were saying earlier, with ghost stories and stuff, how each little experience at Terror 29, and we have another thing that we're working on that I'm not going to let Crumb talk about yet because it's too soon. I don't want to tease it.
I already know we're not talking about it.
I was like, someone's going to steal that idea.
No,
it's probably already been done.
It's probably all been done, but hasn't been done here.
For us, and in this
area.
Yeah.
There's variations of it, but
right.
What we're doing is something
kind of different, and even that falls into the story of our now essentially we just kind of call it the Terror 29 universe, because everything kind of all connects together, and that's been, I think it was definitely just makes the haunt night and day different, having an actual thought out story, and then you guys can start to fall in love with the characters and what they represent and what they do.
Yeah, overall.
How did we even come up with Terror 29? Do you know how that happened?
No, actually, no, I don't.
We killed 29 people to get to where we are.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's going to suck when we do 30.
I know, Terror 30.
I was hoping for like 68, you know.
Yeah, Terror 68. Or we evolve each year.
Yeah.
You know, we've been in 29 years now. Or I sometimes tell that I was 29 when I started it, so it was Terror 29 because I was 29 years old. I try to come up with a different story. That could be our thing. Every podcast, you should ask me, how did we get the name? And I'll have a different story each time. That could be our little shtick.
Way to build that organically.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you'll keep me on my toes.
So what else you want to talk about?
Yeah, what do you think this podcast is going to turn into, or what is your hope or envision? My goal to do some like different trivia, talk about movies coming out, like The Monkey or Heart Eyes were some previous movies that I recently saw in February, so we can talk about that. Not in this podcast, but in general.
Right.
Or, you know, definitely upcoming horror news, or when we go to like Trans World in St. Louis, talk about that. Or we were just in Vegas in January checking out horror merchandise and just kind of keep up to date. And everybody and their dog seems like they've got a podcast, so it seems like that was just the next logical thing, that we should have a podcast
Yeah,
too.
nothing says let's start a podcast when it's oversaturated.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like the trend is that it'll be like that for a while, and then people are going to start dropping off, and it's the ones that persevere and stick through it.
Right.
So we'll come out on the other end glorious.
You know, and one thing I'd like to see is maybe doing some actual haunt news from around the country. Talk to other haunts and and seeing, hey, what do you got going on, and actually maybe bringing them in and doing some interviews with them. I'd like to see that, and you know, have a meeting of the minds, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know.
Well, even for our local viewers here, I definitely want to have Chad on the podcast from Twisted Nightmare.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then David is the other one over there that was kind of also the start of that, and just to have them share their story, because it's interesting. Hopefully you guys find this podcast interesting or entertaining, but it's just also for me, it's cool to know the story and history of other haunts across the country as well.
And I'm the history buff, so I love history. So
right.
Whatever the history is.
Yeah.
You know, and it just happens to be horror-based and haunted houses. That just makes it even better.
Yep.
You know, and then maybe another thing we could talk about is something that we've been wanting to do, is ghost hunting, actual ghost hunting.
I know. I was just thinking like the Villisca Axe Murder House.
There is another one I want to go to, the Squirrel Cage over in Council Bluffs.
Oh, okay.
I did find something on the Tiki Talks the other day. They were saying the most haunted locations like in Iowa and South Dakota and stuff like that. I'd like to see. I'll bring that up to you.
That'd be super cool. Yeah. So since we are the way we have these cameras purposely angled, I don't care if you can see it or not, but we got this podcast setup is portable. We're not on this like whole soundboard setup, so we could totally go and do these podcasts on the road.
Yep.
Or like if we're at Trans World, we could interview Chuckles or whoever it might be,
or maybe even
interview Larry.
Or you know, the Tampa Jays and the Carpetbaggers.
Yeah, totally.
You know,
that would be cool.
Or even if Adam the Woo happened to stop by, you
Yeah.
know. And for those that don't know, these are people that actually go to haunted houses or Scare Factor.
Yeah.
They actually go to haunted houses and they get permission to go in and check out their haunted house and stuff like that. So it'd be cool just to talk to them about their experiences.
Yeah, literally. That would be super cool. And then maybe do a cross podcast. Maybe they'd want to, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if they, or at least it could be on their
I suppose.
vlogs.
Yeah,
so.
right. Yeah, I don't know if any of them have probably podcasts or if they're just YouTubers.
They're just YouTubers, but still the fact of.
Right.
Maybe we can even get Alan Hops. Hi,
That
Alan.
would be so cool. Alan, would you like to be on our podcast? Please say yes.
We'll come to Texas.
And mentioning that actually, yeah, screw it. You know what? If we have to take a road trip to get you on the podcast, that would be, and to pick your brain for even 30 minutes, that would be so cool.
And I've been so Transworld, it's really hard to you know, see some of these guys because they're busy all the time because they're so popular.
And they're at their booth or they're doing seminars.
Exactly. So I've always wanted to go. Alan and I see him there that one time, and he was working on a mask at Transworld last year. And I'm like, I can't interrupt him.
Yeah.
He's doing a mask for a reason, you know. And it's just like, I want to talk to him. I want to introduce myself. But my anxiety plus, that.
That's the
Let's
other,
add that thing.
Right. I'm like, we're so socially awkward, which you would never guess or think. And especially when I used to do performances all the time. I just don't I can go on stage in front of people, but I didn't want to interact one-on-one.
It was like when we met Tampa J. Oh, Tampa J, I love your shows. They're the great. Hi, Chris the girl. Can we take a picture? All right, bye.
Well, that story is a funny one because I actually didn't even know who Tampa J was.
Right.
And then I was almost just going to be like, and I was smart enough to know that this is somebody because you want to take a photo with him. But I didn't understand, and we were just about to go to lunch or coming to lunch or whatever it was. So for whatever reason,
we were heading out the door and they were coming in.
Yeah, so it was like. Yeah, so they probably wouldn't have accepted it anyway. But just stupid me almost was like, "Hey, you want to go get lunch?" And I should have done it because what if they would have said yes and then been able to and me just being oblivious to who this guy is. So maybe ignorance is bliss. That I could have been like, "Hey, you want to hop on our podcast? I don't know who the hell you are, but let's talk." And then it turns out to be Tampa J.
Yeah,
and then we get a bunch of clicks because he's a super cool dude.
He is a cool dude, and his fiance is also really cool too.
Yeah, so. I guess ironically, does she have her own channel? Or
yes.
I've only seen most of Tampa J stuff.
She does. She does more of the. She used to work at Disney.
Oh, okay.
So she tells a lot more stories of what she knows from Disney. She's also into crystals and all that stuff too. So
sure.
So she shows some of that side. She has more of the Halloween gothy personality.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Do you think we should do this podcast weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, as it comes, sporadic? We should probably tell the viewers what to maybe expect.
My thing on anything is consistency.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Whatever we decide, I think every other week, bi-weekly might be really good for us right now.
Yeah, I think that's practical. I would love to do weekly, but that might be a little...
until we start getting more people in.
Or
and
interviews that can
yeah,
fill in
yeah.
some of that. Yeah, this is definitely... But this was super fun. It was a little... I don't even know if I should say the word rough at the start, but then within a click, then it was just us bullshitting.
Yeah,
and it was
exactly.
all right, this is super fun.
I can bullshit.
Yeah, I just had to get started and get rolling.
Yeah, considering you said you were going to start this and then you throw it right to me.
I know. I was just going to see what you would say because then what was funny, though, is I was like, okay, we can stop it and just restart because then I was going to be like, oh, if we started laughing or something, or then we'd have a blooper clip. And then you just rolled with it. So I'm like, okay, shit, we're actually doing the podcast now. We're just going.
Improv at its finest, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. Shameless plug, Terror 29 Haunt is on when you mentioned the Tiki-Talkies. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, RIP Twitter. It still feels weird to say X instead of Twitter.
It will always be a tweet.
And tweet. But it's at Terror29 Haunt on all of those channels. Please give us a follow for a shameless plug, or even on Whatnot. We'll talk about Whatnot in a different episode. We'll even geek out over Disney probably. We'll geek over Epic. We can talk about that on an episode. Or the Horror Unleashed coming to Vegas. So we'll have a lot of content.
So ready for that.
Yeah, literally.
That when we go to that, we're going to be doing a podcast there.
Yeah, for real. And it's the prices so far. It sounds like what was released. If you're obviously residents get different prices, but it's $69, and you get to go through 4 full haunted houses year round. That seems pretty reasonable for the prices of stuff in Vegas to go.
And
make
if we go
on
a Monday and a Tuesday, you don't need no fast pass.
Yeah, well, and then it's
that.
also it's
Plus,
an extra $10 or something. You can go through as many times as you want. So then you could be there all day long and go through the houses multiple times.
And then when you get tired of that, you run over to Meow Wolf.
Yeah, Area 15. That whole district. And there's stuff over there that I don't. There's a building that's called Illumination or something. That looks cool.
That's new.
Yeah, so we'll definitely talk about that. And so we'll try bi-weekly. So who knows when this episode will even drop? Because we haven't even thought that far yet. But. So when you watch this episode, it's the next one will come out 2 weeks from this one. That's how we'll plan that.
Yep.
I suppose we haven't even thought. This is how I just knew it actually made sense for us. I think that was just a good logical move to start a podcast. It'll allow us to interview different people, it just makes sense. It's a cool thing. But yeah, this is so new that we haven't even thought that far, discussed.
One of our first people we should get is probably Screams from the Basement.
I know. Yeah, so actually I did figure our next episode, whether it's with them or not, is we need to talk about our Halfway to Halloween that's coming up.
Oh, yeah. Hey, maybe we should talk about Halfway to Halloween on April 26th.
25th and 26th.
Well,
that's true. Their con
so
is,
the Screams by Night Con, happening at the Social in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, on April 26th. Do we still have those magic tickets?
Yeah, so there's still...
I don't know if this will be relevant, but
well, I made a post that we had 10. Somebody bought 2, so we'd have 8 then. I don't know if anyone's bought tickets since then. So there's still 8 left for a combo ticket. Their con is from 11 a.m., I think, till 5 p.m. They've got about a dozen vendors. They have different cosplayers come in. Ghostbusters will be there. Will be there.
Melvin the Mop Boy.
Yeah, he'll be there. And actually,
From Toxic Avenger.
I almost spilled the beans. They told me who that celebrity guest is they're waiting to announce, and I almost just said it, but I can't because they haven't announced it yet.
No, you can't.
I'll tell you once we turn this off.
Okay.
Yeah, they have another celebrity guest they're waiting to announce.
And they're bringing wrestlers in, too, professional wrestlers.
Yeah, New Sound, I believe it is, or something like that. But yeah, that's a whole day horror con. We'll have the haunted house then open to celebrate. We always do a Halfway to Halloween, ironically, minus the year that we were in transition.
Correct.
That's a difference. Remember? Yeah, I should tell that story. I was like, this is April, and I'm like, okay, hear me out. What if we open for Halfway to Halloween, which would give us a month to get everything set up? And you didn't say no.
I said, it'll be tough, but if that's what you want.
Like, okay. And obviously we didn't do it. But so normally we have a Halfway to Halloween.
Thank God.
Yeah, right? Oh, geez. It would have been impossible. It would have just had to been a behind-the-scenes tour.
It would literally have been one house.
Yeah, if that. But yeah, so we always do that. We'll be doing it the weekend that with the con, so it becomes a whole horror weekend. But yeah, there's 8 tickets left. We have a combo. It'd be $10 is their ticket for the con, and then our normal price is $20 for the haunted house. But if there's 8 left, if you buy our haunted house ticket for Halfway, you get their free ticket, so it saves you $10.
You know what this just did? You got to hurry up and put this on.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I can have it published probably pretty darn quick. Then we just got to stick to it and then record another one. Yeah,
put it on the calendar.
Yeah, that's true. We do have a calendar, you guys.
We're professional.
But yeah, Screams from the Basement podcast, super cool dudes. We'll definitely try to get them on regardless of when it is. But yeah, they have a horror con with Comics by Night they partnered with. A couple other sponsors that are a part of that I can't remember off the top of my head. But when we do an episode, we'll have our facts figured out.
Especially when we bring them in.
But yeah, definitely check that out on our website, terror29.com. Click on the Haunted House tab. You can see the info for Halfway to Halloween. 8 tickets left to get that combo ticket, so then you can make it a whole horror weekend. Go to the con during the day, come to the haunted house that evening. We'll have all the special effects turned on, all the monsters and freaks are awakening.
Speaking of cosplayers and stuff, our monsters will be touring and roaming around that con.
Yeah, all day long. You can kind of mingle and interact, take photos, and not just our people too, but like Krampus will be there. Ghostbusters. There's a couple others that they mentioned that I can't remember right now. But so definitely keep an eye out for that. We'll talk more in another podcast too, for sure, about that. Probably even do a follow up about how the event went, all of that. This is kind of turning.
And maybe we need to do a podcast while we're on the floor
of
the
con. Yeah, that would be cool to interview the other vendors and stuff. I actually love that idea.
I know, that's all I have is great ideas.
Yeah,
so I keep telling them.
So yeah, we're gonna probably end this podcast so you can just spill some more good ideas behind the scenes.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. That's, really how we make this work. If it wasn't, well, really, I know I could give you the credit, but it's really Stan the Man. He's the one that makes this whole thing work. So, so Stan the Man, shout out to you. Follow us on all the socials, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Don't forget the website.
Yeah, terror29.com for all the tickets and info, and you can see all the products. We have a whole retail store that's also online, so you can buy everything online.
Any news and updates are always there at terror29.com.
Totally.
So if you missed this, At least you know it's there.
Yeah, that's true. This will be on that website too. So you
Yeah.
might stumble upon this on there, and now you're being inceptioned back into the site. So
Where's the top?
I don't know. To be continued.
To be continued. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Zach Tenenbaugh and myself, Aaron Krumholtz. We had a wonderful time BSing between each other, letting you know what we know. And you have a wonderful day.